And we are back with another episode of From the Rafters. Sam and I are here recording on Thursday, January 13th, and we are joined by Jimmy Toscano of CLNS Media. How you
What's
doing
up,
today, Jimmy?
fellas?
Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's been, I think, like almost a year since I was on this show.
Yeah,
And
it's been a minute.
the more things change, the more things stay the same, I guess, right? I feel like this team is like I said, it's Groundhog Day a little bit, it feels like. But yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me, and appreciate it. It's fun.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
hopping
for
on with
sure.
us.
Absolutely. I was
For
happy
sure.
to.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned to you before we started, when we asked you, hop on today, I was assuming it'd be a much more sad episode, but the Celtics have since won 3 in a row for only the second time this season, beat the Pacers once by ways of a similar storyline for the rest of the season, and then they just decided to blow them out the very next night, which again is the storyline of the
Might be their
season.
most complete game of the season.
Maybe.
At least one of them. Maybe the Miami
yeah.
game might have been a little better. Lakers when they blew them out at the Garden.
That was a good one. Yeah, there's been a couple. There was one recently where they were just like whipping the ball around. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Knicks? Was it the second Knicks game? They blew them out there too.
They did blow them out in that.
It could have been that one. Yeah, without Fournier. That's the thing. I feel like there's always something that like you have to mention. But the last win against the Pacers, they had LeVert back. They had Brogdon back, but it was obviously Brogdon wasn't really doing a whole lot for them. Listen, I can still be extremely negative about this team despite the wins. I don't want to be the black cloud that hovers over it all, so I won't. But it is good to see them, show a little bit of fight. Interesting that, that performance happened with Marcus Smart off the court. Maybe we can get into that a little bit later. But, it's as bad as it's been this season, it hasn't been short of, a little bit of storylines here, some drama there. It's been interesting. If you are like a glutton for punishment type of interesting, it's been interesting.
I don't know if we'd fall under that category, but Sam, maybe. Sam, would you call yourself that? You've started buying Celtics insurance.
Yeah, I've started Celtics insurance. Yeah. So what you do is when you really think they're going to win, maybe in the third quarter, or I took it halftime of the Knicks collapse, live bet the other team money line, and if they lose, then you walk away with a little bit of cash. You get paid off for your time.
I like that. That's like the nice hedge, like either way, you're either going to lose money, but your team's going to win, or your team's going to win, you're going to lose a little money. I like that a lot. And generally speaking, that's a really good rule for like NBA games in general. Like if you are a gambler, not that we're promoting gambling because we wouldn't do that, but if you were, live betting like the opposite team after a big run is typically pretty smart because the NBA, as you guys know, is just like this, right? I mean, especially if you're a Celtics fan, that a 20-point lead is not going to last in one direction or the other. So not a bad idea, Sam. I like that.
You got like plus 1,400 odds, right? Well, that obviously didn't.
Well, that was
the second.
I didn't take that. I took it earlier yesterday because I thought.
You take the money line.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I don't take.
That's crazy. That's
I don't really care. I mean, I only put $5 in on it. But I won 35 against the Knicks.
Of course,
I almost won 50 in that overtime win against the Pacers when they were down 4 with 30 seconds left or something. Like I almost got paid off on that one.
Sprinkle a couple bucks on it.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, take the points and just ride it out, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Why not? It
can't
hurt. Nothing else can hurt.
And you know what? Whatever it takes these days to get through the game. If you got to put a couple bucks on the line to keep you awake, that first Pacers game, I was fighting to stay awake for that one. That one was pain. I mean, it came down, it came down to it at the end, which made it interesting, but it was just kind of a boring one, like 3.5 quarters.
No one was making anything.
Score.
No one could score. Oh, it was like such a Pacers vibe to it. It was like, oh man, if this is like Indiana, this is like the state of Indiana summed up in a basketball game right now.
It was pain. No, the Celtics were doing their best Pacers impression that game, which was just awful. Yes. It's terrible. I say this to Sam every time we talk about the Pacers. The Pacers are maybe my least favorite organization. Like, I like their players, but they're just like, and they've come out and said it, they're okay with being just mediocre. And this year, mediocre in past years is just bad, right? You can't be, like, the East is so competitive now that being a mediocre team from last year or the year before is bad. Like, how do you go to the first round of the playoffs and get eliminated 5 years in a row and you're just okay with that? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me.
Mediocrity is the worst place you can be. That's like the problem with the Celtics right now. I tried to adopt the Pacers as like my non-Celtics team. Like, this is like 2 years ago. I really thought that they were going to like sort of sneak up on everybody. They have, like you said, they have very talented players on their team. But I don't have the stats to back this up, but I can't think of a team that's been hit with more injuries than they have.
Oh,
been.
it's
like,
a lot.
All of their players at one point or another. I mean, half of them aren't even on the team anymore, and they've all been hit with the injury bug. So that's unfortunate, but it's part of the game. You know, you can just never tell. You can put the best players you can, assemble them, and see what happens. But it sounds like they're in a similar boat, not a similar boat to the Celtics, but they're in a situation that they don't want to be in that they're trying to figure out what they can do, because what they have now is not certainly not cutting it, not going to work. So, you know, like I don't know if it's going to happen at this trade deadline, but certainly in the offseason, like there could be a match there for the Celtics and the Pacers, two teams that are searching for
something. Who are you looking at? Who are you eyeing on the Pacers, Jimmy?
Oh man, dude! I mean, like I told you, I adopted these guys, so like I kind of like some of these guys. Like I love Sabonis.
Mhm.
I think I overvalue him a little bit, but like when it comes to like young, talented bigs, like I just think he's so polished. Like if you watch him offensively, the way he passes the ball, like his footwork. Find me a big with like better footwork, you know, like at that sort of stage in his career.
It's probably just Jokic. It's probably just Jokic.
Right. Yeah, I'm not going to put him up there, but he's certainly like a tier below. But I really just think he's super polished, and man, like him, Tatum and Brown could really. I mean, that's like, and I no offense to Rob, but like that's really the type of like facilitating big. Like you're talking about like Al Horford, like 2.0, like a young Al Horford kind of thing. Now he needs to work on his outside shot, obviously more. But that's a guy that I'm definitely looking at. If I'm the Celtics, again, I don't want to trade Jaylen Brown for him. So I don't know if they can put a package together. It would probably involve Rob. It would probably involve Smart. Probably involve some picks. Something like that. That's really all you have, to be completely honest with you guys, and I'm sure you know that. If you don't want to trade Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, which is very fair, that's what you're working with. You don't have any of your young guys aren't going to get you jack right now, unfortunately. And all the like middle of the guys, it's like temporary players. So I like Sabonis. I love Brogdon, and I think Brad Stevens loves Brogdon too.
Love Brogdon.
I just don't know what they can, again, like a Smart for Brogdon type deal. I mean, I would probably do that. I'm kind of at the point where I'm picking up the phone on anybody who wants to talk about Marcus Smart, and I don't hate Marcus Smart. I just think we're at the point, and I know that Sam has the Marcus Smart jersey staring at me right now, so I don't want to say too much about anti-Marcus Smart, but I just think there's a point where you have to make tough decisions. You know, if you're a GM, you have to do things that are for what you think is for the best for the team, not best for the fans or what's going to make everybody smile and all that stuff. It's like, it's pretty clear to me that something isn't working. And if you don't want to trade Tatum and Brown, you go to the next, piece to that puzzle. And at some point, you have to part with somebody who maybe doesn't fit. That's the key word, right? Fit, that everyone uses. So I love Brogdon. I love Sabonis. LeVert, I think is super talented. I don't know what the health issues, if that's something they want to do. But those are like the three guys and really the two guys that I think would have a good role and a good fit on the team. If you can't trade for Brogdon until the offseason. So, it's just something that would be happening, over the summer over the summer at some point. But yeah, those would be two guys that I would definitely pick up the phone. I mean, it sounds like there's going to be a shakeup in Indiana, so you want to at least be involved in the discussions. I know today the Hawks traded Cam Reddish, and that was a player that, whether or not the Celtics ended up with him, I mean, it's just a type of kind of a trade that you want to see them make. Buy low on a guy that was, a guy that people were high on coming out of college, and just kind of hasn't really found a role in this Hawks team. Doesn't mean he can't play in the NBA. And in fact, when he does play, he's put together some pretty solid performances. So it cost a first-round pick and another player, I'm blanking on who it was, from the Knicks.
Kevin Knox.
Thank you. So what does that mean for the Celtics? A protected
basically nobody.
Yeah, what does that mean for the Celtics? A protected first-round pick and, Aaron Nesmith? Is that what it means?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to say no to that.
My big thing with the Reddish thing was I fearful that he would just fall under the same thing as Nesmith. Like he just wouldn't get minutes in Udoka's rotation, which you could argue is an issue within itself. But like, Sam loves to say that Sam, it was free, right? That was a free trade.
It was free.
It
was absolutely free. Like they gave up nothing for him. I guess the situation makes more sense. They got a second too.
They got a second.
Did they? I thought.
Yeah, they got.
See, I thought the second went to Atlanta. I guess not.
No, they got.
They said here,
Scott,
like
Reddish. The Nets got player,
right? Somehow.
I don't think the Nets. The second was via the Nets that the Hawks had, I believe. So like it was Reddish, Solomon Hill, and a 2025 second via the Nets to the Knicks, and then the Hawks got Kevin Knox and a 2022 first round pick from Charlotte. That's protected. top 8. Protected top 18 this year, top 16 the next year, top 14 the year after that, and then it splits into 2 seconds after that. So like with how good the Hornets are, it'll probably end up being like the 20th overall pick in the draft. So
yeah, and honestly, like that's a right around. I mean, the Celtics will probably be a little bit lower than 20, unfortunately, but you're talking about similar value there. So like my only concern is that like why aren't they involved in these types of talks? Like why are we just gonna continue to watch other teams do these types of things? Because it seems like a Trader Danny type of a move. And one of my many concerns, and we'll get into it maybe, but is that like Brad Stevens doesn't have full reign maybe, or doesn't have the go ahead from Wick to do what he wants. Mm-hmm. And like, is Wick just concerned about, getting under the tax and, little things like that? Or is he actually like on board? Does he believe in these guys? And is he going to let Brad do his thing? Or is Brad just here because Wick doesn't want to fire Brad because he owes Brad all this money? So he's going to keep Brad on the payroll for a couple years, give him this, fake title job, not fake title, but you guys know what I mean. I mean, this came out of nowhere. Brad Stevens, one day is a coach, the next day he's your GM. Like that never happens. It made no sense to anybody. It still doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't even hate the moves that Brad's made so far because they've been like little things, roster type moves. He brought in Richardson. I thought that was a good move. I didn't think it was a great move at first, but I like it now. Yeah. Things like that. I have no criticisms about it. But this is the team that he's been given. Then, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? What's he allowed to do? So like the Cam Reddish thing happens and whatever. It's not going to make or break your franchise, but that's a guy that was available, didn't cost an arm and a leg, and probably would have been like, I mean, you're worried about him not playing. I feel like he definitely would have played. He probably would have been like your fifth best guy in the damn team. If he gets 25 minutes a game. That's definitely not Neesmith. Neesmith has been given opportunities, not enough right now, but in the past. Like Langford is a great example. Langford was given the starting job, did absolutely nothing with it. They could have put me or you in there and we could have scored as many points as Romeo did, So some of these guys haven't getting opportunities, but they're just not running with it. So now Neesmith's at a situation where he hasn't earned it. He's obviously not doing enough in practice to earn it. And so when he gets in, he gets 3-4 minutes, misses a couple of shots, and then hits the bench again. It's like you're never going to get into any sort of rhythm that way. So we're in this vicious circle of like young guys who suck, who can't develop because they don't get time, but they don't get time because they suck. You know what I mean? So it's like, where do we go with it? So Reddish almost would have been like a shortcut, cut the line, take Neesmith, and we got this guy Reddish who Neesmith should have been, or Romeo should have been if they were getting, playing time over the last 2-3 years. But it didn't happen. So we move on to the next one now, and we'll see. I don't know what the Celtics have to offer. So when somebody becomes available that doesn't require a whole lot, kind of want them to think about it. But the other thing is that a first round pick was shot from, the Knicks used the Hornets first round pick. So they kind of had a first round pick to blow in a way.
Yeah.
Right? Not blow, but they had one extra one in their holster. The Celtics don't right now. So they have to think a little bit harder about losing them. Not that they've had a great track record with them recently anyways. Long-winded answer.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, kind of, Jimmy, Brad Stevens made some good moves. Obviously, the Al Horford move probably looks pretty good in context, considering Kemba Walker got benched in New York, which is entertaining. But you love Kemba. But from purely the perspective of making that trade,
situation's wild too, though. He gets benched, but then he comes back and he drops like 30, drops a triple double. Now he's benched again. Like obviously the knee, it's too bad because the knee obviously is an issue. But you can't deny that when he's healthy, he's super talented. The Horford contract was strictly money, and it made sense. But now we're seeing Al sort of
it's unfortunate.
Like old Al a little bit here.
It's really weird that he's like struggling to shoot because shooting is typically something that you don't lose when you get older. You see all these former players, not that they're, contested or anything, but they're in old gyms shooting, not hitting the rim. Like, you don't lose that. So it's kind of funny that now he's a little older and he all of a sudden is struggling to shoot. Hopefully it's just a little bit of a slump with that. But even around the rim, he's been a little tough. Like he's not making the little hook off the right side block as much as he used to, or even was at the beginning of the season, not grabbing as many rebounds. But I don't know if I feel like he's a negative out there, but I think obviously Rob has been the star, and Grant has filled in where the shooting need was. So until he really gets his feet back under him shooting, he's not going to see as many minutes at the very least. I don't know if you should take him out of the starting lineup because I don't particularly think that matters. I think it's more about who's out there at the end of the game, which I think at this point, Grant should be out there at the end of the game if they're going to have two bigs.
Or Josh.
Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson might be my favorite new player, and I've been on the Josh train for a while, a little bit before everyone else.
Nice.
All right.
But
definitely before me. I was bashing that trade. I was just like, what the hell is this?
Well, they got it for free.
I know. I just thought that I was gonna not like the player. I was just
Big Moses Brown guy. Big Moses Brown guy, Jimmy.
Honestly, yeah. I kind of thought that he was gonna be like, oh, this dude ripped like 18 boards down against us. This guy's the beast. And they're like, yeah, we're just gonna get rid of him for nothing. I was like, okay, never mind. I guess I'm wrong.
He doesn't even get PT in Dallas, which is crazy considering their big man rotation. That's
that tells you something, I guess.
No, Richardson's been great. I mean, yeah, you were right, Sam. Totally. I mean, he's becoming a player that they can depend on. And I mean, I said this a couple weeks ago. I think that they should consider starting him instead of Al. I don't think the double big is. I think it's definitely here for tomorrow because they're playing Philly, so that makes sense because Al's obviously going to play. But I think the problem is they're playing Al too much. I mean, these guys should not be logging 30-plus minutes every single game. He's just not at that point in his career anymore. So if that means him coming off the bench and dropping, 7-8 minutes a game, great. I think that works for everybody. I think he's, maybe he's going to get his legs back a little bit. I mean, that's a big part of your outside shot. So no, you don't lose your shot, but you do lose your kind of, lower body a little bit, strength and things like that over a long course of the season.
Yeah, and I don't think he's terrible outside of the shooting. Like, he can still defend pretty well. He can still do all these little things. It's just when you're out there next to Robert Williams, who does all of those things as well, you kind of want someone who can shoot the ball. And I've got a little bit of a conspiracy theory here, so you guys can check me if you want.
Okay.
So
I like conspiracy theories.
Ime Udoka, his rotations have been very strict. If this guy's out, Dennis Schroder will start. If this guy's out, Grant Williams will start. Feed. That is it, except for the one horrific Enes Kanter 40-plus minute game that we don't have to ever talk about again. I was there for it.
Hey,
I was there.
That's Enes freedom to you, bud.
You're right. I'm so sorry.
That's
Enes freedom. I was there, and that was just Rob's name was on the Jumbotron.
Just because his name's a little weird and you can't pronounce it correctly doesn't mean you don't try and say it.
Jeez.
Right?
Enes freedom. I'm sorry. I mean, that whole day was... That whole day was awful. Like, they had the alarm at TD Garden. Enes Freedom put up 40 minutes against Joel Embiid.
They blew the lead.
Yeah, it was terrible. Anyways, Ime Udoka, his rotations have been very strict. Until a couple of nights ago, you see, I forget what game it was. It might have been the Knicks game. Yeah, exactly. But he ended with a lineup of Marcus Smart was out, so I think it was the second Knicks game. Was that it, or was it the game before the Knicks series? Okay, maybe Pacers. Regardless, he finished with the lineup of Tatum, Robert Williams, Brown, Richardson, and Grant Williams, right?
Yeah,
the Williams,
that's 'cause
the Jays, and Josh. Yes, but after the game, he was asked about it. And instead of saying, I wanted more shooting on the floor, which everyone was telling him and saying, okay, maybe we should do that, he goes, no, I wanted the size of Richardson over Schroeder, and I liked the way Grant was defending. I've been a huge defender. I've been a huge defender of Ime Udoka. Sam can vouch for that. I wrote a whole article saying Ime is not Udoka's fault, and I stand by that to some degree. But dude, that's just not true. Like, it's very clearly the
it's
fact
not his fault,
shooting.
But he's not doing anything to fix it. He's just kind of sitting there watching.
I can understand, like, yes, you want the size against the Pacers. I think they're facing, or yes, you want Grant's like good defense. But they can shoot, and that is why they're on the floor. And just why is he refusing to say that? Like, it's like he's afraid to admit that he was wrong, which realistically he was wrong. Like, he was wrong, which is fine. Like, I'm not gonna bash the guy, but like, why not just say that?
He's trying to motivate the other parts of their game. Not that Richardson can work on his size or anything, but Grant can continue to try and play good defense and make him feel like he earned that through that. Maybe, I don't know.
That could be part of it. I think the other part of it is probably like he doesn't listen. He's not going to give anybody credit. He's not going to let anyone know that he hears the noise or that anyone's telling him what he should be doing. he sees, he's like one of these reporters that I can't stand sometimes where like they just see the game differently. They see it better than we do. You know what I mean? Like, no, dude, I'm watching the same game you are, and nobody on this team can hit a damn shot right now. Put in the shooters. Put them in. Do the thing where they hit the shot and we score the points. Like, do more of that. Like, it's a
or when you work to get different shots, not threes that you can't make.
Right. Like, Grant isn't the game to hit a corner three. That's like pretty much his one useful skill. And you know what? That's not a knock on him. He had 0 useful skills prior to that. So it's not like he was like their defensive stopper. Like, so just go do that thing where you stand in the corner. The problem is now that defenses are kind of onto it because he was shooting at like what 50%.
Yeah.
They're kind of forcing him off the corners, but he's just got to work his way, and Ime's got to make it work so that he gets those corner threes. But that's it. You're right, Jack. That's why they were in the game, and that's why people don't want the double big in there half the time either, because it's such a liability on that. Offense. There's not enough shooting, and that's why people are screaming about Smart because he's having a bad shooting season or career. I want to go that far. When he's in there with Schroder and Rob or whoever, there's just not enough. And then what does the opposition do? They double on Tatum or they double on Brown, and then those guys force shots and they try to do it all themselves, and then we just have the same issues over and over and over. Exactly. But you're right. He switched it up in that. I think he was forced to because, like I said, Smart got hurt, and he, for whatever reason, didn't want to have Schroder in there either. But it worked. It worked. So maybe we will see more of it. I really don't know, but
hope so.
Another reason why, like a little trade might do the trick.
Yeah.
Another thing about the double bigs, I noticed. I believe it was in the first Knicks game where they really blew the lead. Is a lot of times when they're both in the game, to space the floor, they're in the same spot. They're standing on the same block opposite ball handler. It's mind-boggling to me. There's literally 2 guys standing not only in the paint, but right next to each other. They're not even on opposite sides.
Right.
That is
we've seen that so many times. Yeah.
Then they'll just stack Grant in the corner behind him, like 1, 2, 3 right now.
Yeah, Grant's like, yo, man, this is nice. Go somewhere else, dude.
Talk about, a biohazard. They're not social distancing at the very least.
Yeah. They should be wearing masks out there if the way they play offense sometimes, they should all be wearing masks.
Yeah, they should. Right. They're just standing next to each other. They pull it out of like their waistband because they don't have pockets in those shorts. They pulled a mask out and they put it on. And it's like a dig at Udoka. They're like, tell us to move.
But that's like, that's criticism on the players. That's been some of the criticism on Ime, and you give a first year coach plenty of leeway, whatever word you want to use, because he's taken over. He's a first year coach of the team. He's a first year coach in general. So obviously there's going to be some growing pains and things of that nature. But you want to see adjustments, whether it's before the game, during the game, and like that's the problem that I think a lot of people had with Brad is that he wasn't making adjustments by the end of things. Like it was the same lineups. Rob was never getting burned until way later on into the season. He would just watch the team lose leads without calling timeouts. Like again, and I'm not putting it on the coaches because it ultimately does fall on the players. And I do think Tatum and Brown need to take a lot of responsibility for what's happened over the last couple of seasons. And I think they're starting to a little bit. They're at least starting
Seems like it.
Yeah, they're starting to acknowledge it and say it. But I want to see it. That's what really what I want to see is leadership. I don't want to sound like the boomer who like says they have no Celtic pride and all that stuff, but like I do feel
there's truth to that.
I do honestly God feel a little truth. I do feel that. I don't know how you can watch this team for the last 3 seasons, let's say, and be like happy with the fight, the pride, like the tenacity, whatever word you want to use, the grit, like anything that goes with winning. It's like a winning culture.
Period.
Period. Like last season, I thought was like the pits, like everything going on outside of the game, and then with the team, it just felt like nobody wanted to be there. Right. If you watch that season, it just felt like no. I would watch the game and be like, does anybody want to play right now? Is anybody interested in this in wearing this jersey? And then, sure enough, what happened? The season ended. Nobody really wanted to be there. Brad Stevens didn't want to be the coach. Danny Ainge didn't want to be the GM. Half the players didn't want to play in the team. And the Celtics were like the laughing stock of the league for a good chunk of time. The whole throwing the bottle like Kyrie thing, and now all of a sudden everybody in Boston's racist and hates.
Rody. Rams. He was a URI student. Let me go grab the hat.
Oh, wait, that kid was?
God.
Yes, he was. Apparently. There we go.
Sam went to URI as well.
Congratulations. So that was another black mark. And like, I didn't feel like any of the players really went to bat for the city at that point. And I was just fed up with it. I was like,
Jaylen Brown kind of did.
A little bit.
He stuck up a little bit. He said there were problems, but he said like he was out of pocket for.
At least he said something. At least he said something.
He kind of said Marcus Smart didn't say anything good. In fact, Marcus Smart kind of backed it up, to be completely honest, from what I remember. And then, it was pretty much crickets from everybody else. Danny Ainge said something and it backfired on him. Which,
God, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lose-lose situation for everybody at that point. Yeah. So what were you supposed to say? But it just goes back to my point is that the whole, like, it used to mean something to, like, put on that jersey and play in the TD Garden. My fear, and this is what John Zanis on our podcast says all the time, these players don't care about that anymore. They're too young. Like, we, maybe we do because we're, we grew up watching the team, and our parents certainly do because they, they'll talk your ear off all day about the 70s and the 80s. But these kids are 20 years old. They don't give a what about Larry Bird and Robert Parrish and Kevin. They don't care about those. They don't even know
like Kobe.
They literally, I guarantee you, players on the Celtics team don't know who half. If you said, name me these retired numbers, name the player that goes, I wouldn't even want them to take this test because I know they would all fail it like miserably. Because it doesn't matter to these kids anymore. So like that kind of and honestly, like the pride thing is really like that's your selling point if you're the Boston Celtics. You're not going to sell them on the weather, right? You're not. I mean, we love Boston, but it's not like it's a city based on history and culture and all that stuff. But it's not a destination city for a lot of people. It just really isn't. So, what are you selling your organization? And right now, it's not really a place where they're winning. So you have to find players who want to play here and who embrace the city and fight and leave it all out there in the court. I just haven't seen that the last couple of seasons enough. I do think Marcus Smart is an exception. I do think that he does try hard and he's, diving around and all that stuff. And I think that's why fans have grown to not want to trade him and like him. But there's not enough of that. The Marcus Smart problem isn't necessarily his attitude. It's his skill and, ability to fit with this current roster.
And so I think Grant Williams is getting there a little bit. Because you see him make those plays, and I love Grant. I'm sorry, I love Grant. I'll preface this. I love Grant. I see him all the time. You look at the bench. You look at the only person standing up.
Face.
I'm just saying. You look.
Okay. No. Okay, I know what you're saying.
The hustle, and the caring about the team, the pride, stuff like that. Yes, the attitude, 100%. I also love Grant Williams.
I think Grant he wears it. He's kind of a bit of an instigator.
Love it. I love Grant Williams.
And that's great. You want to have those guys on your team. So I'm totally fine with Grant's attitude. And honestly, guys, we kind of half joked about it. Nobody, and this is another example. I didn't even bring this up. Nobody wanted to take on that captain position on the Celtics team to the point where Ime just said
that is legitimately embarrassing, and I cannot believe nobody wanted it. Like, you think
nobody wanted it.
Marcus would have at least wanted it. I mean,
I think Marcus wanted it, and Marcus probably made it awkward or something. I don't know. I don't know why nobody ended up with it, but we joked that like Grant Williams was kind of the guy that early on in the season was like, give this guy the captain. You know what I mean? I want somebody to wear it who wants to show it. It's not just a letter. It means something, And it was so discouraging. And again, I don't want to sound like a boomer, but it's just discouraging that nobody wanted that nobody wanted to take on that responsibility. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants the credit, right? Everybody wants the credit when things are going great. But when things start to go south, who wants to take the initiative? Who wants to take responsibility? That's what I'm waiting for. And it's always we, when we need to do this better. We need to do that better. Nobody's saying, that's on me, or I need to do this better. I need to lead this team, or I need to set a better example. Nobody. So that's one of the many issues I have with this team. And it's showing up in the wins and loss column because they're not really and I've seen, and again, I'm older than you guys. I've seen teams like Celtics, and you guys have seen them too. Teams that play together win. And what's the biggest thing we say about these guys is that they don't play together. It's always my turn, your turn, me. I'm going to drive. Now I'm going to shoot. Now you're going to drive. You know what I mean? Like when they finally play a game where they whip the ball around, it's like, oh my God, it's all we can talk about. Like, oh wow, they actually like passed the ball tonight and like they won the game. They had like a bunch of assists, and we're not talking about potential assists. We're talking about actual assists, And it's like such a big deal when they play the right way. It didn't used to always be that way. The teams used to just play the right way.
Yeah.
And again, is that coaching? Is that just the players not evolving to a, you can be the most talented player, aside from like LeBron, you can't just be the same player you were in AAU when you were by and far the best player on the court and you could just bully your way to the basket or shoot over everybody.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum has all the talent in the world, but he's not Kevin Durant. He's not LeBron James. He's going to need to adjust his game and learn how to play winning basketball. Not just Jason Tatum scored 30 tonight and they lost by 12. It's got to be Jason Tatum scored 24 and they won by 12. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm looking for in these guys. I haven't seen it yet. So like, I'm not in love with anybody on the team. Like when you tell me about like, oh, like trades, nobody's off limits to me. That doesn't mean that I would trade Tatum for, 50 cents on the dollar. I wouldn't. And I'd have to be blown away to do so. But there's nobody on the team, in my opinion, that has played so well that it's unfathomable that you would even think about trading them. If the right player or players came around, I think you have to pick up the phone. I mean, I really do. Now, that being said, that's more probably a Brown thing than a Tatum thing at this point. But I'm not looking to make like a Jaylen Brown trade deadline trade. That's foolish, and that's never going to happen. But another lose. Let's say they just barely make the playoffs in their first round exit, or they even miss the playoffs. Like, how many seasons are we going to do? Bring the band back together and scratch and claw away, but keep the core. Try to trade everybody else. Like, that's not how it works.
How many years are the Celtics going to be the Pacers is the question here. Right.
Right. Are we sick of watching the Pacers? I mean, we just saw the Pacers. Like, we just saw your future, guys. You just saw it.
Yep.
Like, so, and I think the Celtics, they're giving the Jays a chance to do it. I think they need to maybe, again, yes, they need to give them a little bit more talent on the outside. Whose fault is it? It goes back to Danny Ainge. I mean, Kyrie left. It started there, really snowballed there because nobody expected that. Al Horford left. Now he's back. Gordon Hayward left. These are guys that left for nothing.
Well, they got the TPE for. I mean, it was so useful. They got Fournier, who played horrible. Then he left.
Yeah, then exactly.
And you still have a TPE.
Yeah,
you never know.
Rozier left. They got a T. They ended up getting a TPE.
Well, they got Kemba. They did a sign,
right?
But
which turned out to not be the right idea.
Well, now they have Al Horford again.
Right, and Kemba Walker was more of a panic move because Kyrie screwed them.
Yeah,
they wanted Kyrie. Obviously, everyone knows that. And when they got Kemba, it was nice. But it was more like, okay, we have to fill this massive gap with some player, and here's a point guard. It turned out that what did the Celtics try to do? They tried to make him a facilitator towards the end, and he's like, that's not Kemba Walker. And then he got hurt. The rest is history. So they've been a mixture of bad GM moves, bad luck, bad players. And luckily you still have these two great players in Tatum and Brown. But they need to, this is what, year 5 and 6 or something like that?
Can they do it? Can they play together, though? Because that's the question. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hate it. And it, like you said, it's foolish.
They have. When they've had better shooting around them, they've had more success. Now, no one around them can shoot. And like we talked about earlier, they're getting double teamed all the time and they have to take bad shots. There's more to it than just them.
See, this is the thing, though. The point Sam always brings up, which is a valid point, is the last time we saw this team truly be like super successful was, Terry Rozier, Marcus Morris, actual shooters around the team.
Well, the bubble, they were fine.
The bubble, too. Yeah, fine.
The bubble was the last time I really loved this team.
Yeah.
But the difference
they were still on it with Marcus Smart.
But the difference between the bubble team, what better shooters were on that bubble team?
They had Tice, who was more consistent than Horford's been this season. They had Gordon Hayward, who was shooting from the outside.
I swear to God, if you bring up Brad Wanamaker now, I'm so bad.
No.
No, my point is the
Carson
difference between
Edwards.
Yeah. I'm so stupid. The difference between the 2017, 2018 run and that bubble run and now, and I hate saying this because I love Jason Tatum, I love Jaylen Brown. It's the ego. It just is, right? They both want to just take the ball. And after, we're talking about this 1 day removed from them both dropping 30, shooting ridiculously well, and stomping the Pacers, which, I mean, congratulations, you stomped the Pacers, but it shows progress. We haven't seen them do it consistently for 2 years now. And the only differentiating factor is that in those 2 years, you've visibly seen them progress into saying, I want to do it myself. And that's scary if you're the Celtics, because obviously it is absolutely stupid to trade a 25-year-old all-star, 23-year-old all-star, and try to switch up the team. But how long do you give them before you're like, okay, this obviously isn't working?
Well, do you want to lose Jaylen Brown? Yeah, is Jaylen Brown going to be the next guy that walks? You know what I mean? Are we just going to keep doing this? Right. Nobody's like trying to trade these guys, but like, what options are they giving you right now? You know what I mean? Like, and like Sam said, the shooting is definitely an issue around them. Sure. So like, what? And it's above our pay grade to fix this.
Yep.
So I don't know what route they're going to take, but they're going to have to go some way. And that's, again, not to harp on it, but like a Reddish, like if you have an issue with the players around you, make some trades like that and give it a chance and see what happens, because it's going to go one of two ways. You're going to have to eventually, you're going to either build around these guys one more time, or you're going to have to get rid of one of them and make it work with one of them and assume in the trade of one of them that you're getting talent back and guys that fit and guys that can sort of, it doesn't have to be a rebuild. It's a retool. It's like a retool. Exactly. Yeah. And I'm with you on that. Like and I'm sure you guys are NBA fans, you're seeing other guys take the leaps, right?
Oh yeah.
John Morant's
a perfect example. And you can keep going down the line. I mean, Trae Young, even like last season.
The entire Cavaliers roster right now.
The Cavs. I mean, look at Darius Garland. I mean, like guys like that. I mean, even Darius Garland has more All-Star votes than Jaylen Brown right now. The guy came out of nowhere, right?
Fred VanVleet's 28 and doing it right now. Like
Fred VanVleet, exactly. I mean, you can honestly, like this Devin Booker. He's a guy that he got Chris Paul and that kind of unlocked him, and he's a killer. Like I love Devin Booker's attitude, right? And the knock on him was, oh, he doesn't play defense, all this stuff. Dude, he's got an attitude about him. He's got a swagger about him. He's embraced Paul and he's embraced his sort of role in the team, and that Suns team is so much fun to watch. And we look at the Bulls and look what like Lonzo Ball's done this year, and look at there's guys that are taking these huge.
Look at DeRozan,
yeah,
he was a bum
before
like
this
year.
Dark horse MVP candidate right now,
according to Jack.
Wait, was it?
Okay.
I
did not like the DeRozan signing
before the season, which you
can't
can't blame him
hard out. I mean,
we all have those cold takes.
It is what it is.
Yeah, but the point is, people around them are getting better. Even Karl Anthony Towns, I know that they're losing, but like he's had a much better year this year than he did last year.
They're the same record as the Celtics. They're close. They're around what the Celtics are doing, right? So
yeah,
that's tough.
I mean, Wiggins is having a great. You know what I mean? Like guys are just
guys
are stepping up, and like what can you? And you could say that Jaylen Brown has really put together some really strong performances this season and lately, especially. I think he's played better than Tatum has over the last month or so, and I think he's a lot more controlled going to the rim. He's going there with a little bit more purpose. So I'm not going to.
What you're getting more with Jaylen Brown, I would say.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say
the highs are higher with Tatum. Yeah.
Right, the highs are higher with Tatum. Tatum is way streakier right now. His shot is off. It's been off. I think he might be sulking a little bit out there. He's always bickering with the refs.
Sam hates that.
I do hate it. I don't defend it. I hate it when it's LeBron. He was the OG. And now all these other guys do it, which I still don't condone, even if they're on the Celtics. You shouldn't do it. Shouldn't do it.
You should pull them when they start doing that, honestly. And these are the things that you got to start to look at. You don't want to be late to it. You don't want to be looking at this team next year at this time and having the same conversation, because then it's too late. Really, what are you going to do at that point? And as young as these guys are, they've been in the league for a while. I know they've been in smaller roles, and this is the last couple of years they've been in bigger roles. But they're 23 and 25, but they've been in the league for a lot longer than some of these other guys who we just listed, who are taking those leaps and are showing that superstar. LaMelo Ball. I mean, who was right about? I was so wrong on LaMelo Ball. I really, that's my biggest whiff as like somebody who follows the NBA. I just thought that he was going to be all show, and you can see the highlights. He's taking half court shots in high school, all this crap. And you're like, oh, this guy's going to get smoked in the NBA, dude. The Celtics couldn't get him for Tatum right now. No chance. No chance. And that happened just like that. Like, that is a superstar type player. That's what I'm saying. Like, the longer you wait, the more you have to realize, okay, like, are these guys' values higher than they're ever going to be? Do we expect them to get better than they already are? Are they sort of plateauing a little bit here? Are they lacking something from the mental standpoint? Do they lack the killer instinct? Do they lack the team mentality? Like, those are the things that go through my head when I'm watching these games sometimes, because I'm going crazy watching, just a poor performance, and I'm trying to figure it out. I can't figure it out, but I just ask myself these questions all the time.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know which way it's going to go. It's going to be a very interesting offseason. Very interesting.
I think the summer is where you're going to see the bulk of it. The next month will tell you, if they find out how to beat these bad teams that they're going to be playing all month, and if they can put a streak together, which they're starting to do. Big test tomorrow in Philly, big test Saturday, Chicago.
Yep.
Win some of these games.
Those 3 jerseys behind you, Bird, Smart, Garnett, you never had to question those guys.
If they cared.
Love, whatever word you want to use for like being out there, winning Celtics. I mean, Garnett, really? I mean, that guy's pride was through the freaking roof. You guys, I'm sure, got to some games with him in the building.
Oh, yeah.
Think about this right now. And we're like, on our show, if you guys have seen any of the recent episodes, we are like half jokingly, but kind of half serious, talking about the fact that Jason Tatum loves to sit on his exercise bike when he's not in the game. He doesn't want to sit on the bench with his teammates. He doesn't talk to them. He doesn't go over. I'm not saying it's 100% of the time, but he's sitting on this exercise bike.
It's a lot.
Sometimes not even pedaling on it. Everyone's like, oh, he's just trying to get loose. He's trying to get loose. It's like, I want him to take on this leadership role where he sits next to the guys. He talks about maybe what happened out there, what they can do better, and what they're doing good, and what, like, be on the team, be a part of the team, be the leader, be the guy that everybody like needs you to be. And that doesn't mean go sitting in the corner and doing this on the exercise bike, or like just sitting there and watching it. Like, again, like, just why? Like, just Garnett never did stuff like that. Smart never done stuff like that. I mean, like, these guys show it's not just what you do on the box score. There's so much more to it. And it does lead to wins and losses. And I'm not in the locker room, and I'm not in practice, and I'm not hanging out with these guys, so I don't pretend to know what their relationship is, but it just doesn't feel like they're as close as they need to be to get to where they need to be.
Yeah, the exercise bike thing is weird to me, because
it's weird.
I don't know. He just like, what
does no one ever ask about
he's just
that?
Like disengaged. Doesn't he just look disengaged?
He does. Someone asked once, I don't know if it was John Corrales, but he basically just said, "Yeah, I do to stay looser."
Yeah, which is
get ready during the game.
It's just
black. I mean, it's just
how many players do that regularly?
None.
You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. I mean, once in a while, it's, if you get a cramp or something, I get it, but like, it doesn't need to be your permanent seat when you come out of the game. Take on that role. Be that guy.
Those are the little things that, like, when it comes down to it and you say, okay, who would you rather get rid of, Tatum or Brown? I mean, it makes it a conversation. Those are the things that makes it an actual conversation you have to think about. And obviously the answer is neither.
Who wants to be here? Which one of the guys wants to be here? I'll take either one. I want somebody who wants to be here.
To me, it's Brown. Like,
I think Brown seems like he wants to be here more.
With the answers he gave last night, I mean, like, no, not satisfied at all. Like, this means nothing. Like, I don't care about this win. I just want to look forward. Like, we got to, like, versus Tatum, just like I mean, obviously last night he was like, upping Jaylen Brown, saying we can figure it out. But half the time he's just like, yeah, it was a good win.
Yeah, and I guess like, people are like, well, that's just who he is. That's just who he is. Well, you know what? That doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. And Boston's one of those cities where people wear their pride. They wear their pride on their sleeve, right? Or heart on their sleeve. They show their pride.
Those people should go play in Indiana. And I hate to do it.
There's plenty of organizations that will take you, and then that it won't even matter what happens on a night in, night out basis. And I'm not saying the good folks in Indiana don't care. I'm sure they care about their team. But there are teams out there where you can show up, put in your 30 minutes, lose the game and go on with your day and collect your paycheck and do your thing. If that's really at the end of it what you want, there are plenty of teams out there. It's just not going to happen. I mean, historically, it's not been Boston. I hope it doesn't become that. I feel like we're kind of we're not titled town like, the last 20 years. Brady's gone. The Celtics are completely different. The Red Sox are completely different, even though there's, competing. And the Bruins are kind of at that point where they're at a crossroads.
Tuukka's back, though, so maybe that'll do something.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of questions about this group, and it starts at the top. It starts at the top, as it should. It doesn't start at the bottom. Everybody wants to plug a hole, like a little tiny leak. Like, no, this thing is exploding right now. You're gonna plug a little hole by what? Trading, one of your end of the bench guys for a couple seconds, like trading Dennis Schroder is gonna do anything.
Please get him off the team. I'm so sorry. He's got to go. I can't stand
I'll
him.
sit back for this one.
I can't
disagree completely.
Stand him.
It goes back to this. What's your goal this season? What's your goal?
It's winning, and he hurts it. He hurts winning, except for last night. Last night he played well. I've watched him for the entirety of the season. Yeah, and I'll admit, he played well last night. But that's not the same Dennis Schroder that's been on the team. Exactly, but that's not the same Dennis Schroder we've seen all season, because the Dennis Schroder we saw in every game before that is give me the ball, I need to do it. And who's
that different then?
It's the same as the Jays, but when you have three people do it, the issue is infinitely worse. And if you're telling me it's the same thing for Dennis Schroder to do that versus Tatum and Brown, I just think that's completely different worlds. It's not going to fix the
problem. Every player, not every player, but those guys, those smart in there too. Those guys want the ball. Now,
at the very least, I think
Dennis Schroder is not your ideal point guard for this team. However, you need guys who can score. You need guys who can get to the hoop. You need guys who can just move out there, like capable bodies. If you get rid of Dennis Schroder, I guarantee you are 5 losses more into this season.
See, yes, I agree with you.
Subtract Dennis Schroder completely.
Yes, I agree, but only because of the injuries to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. When either of them is out, Dennis Schroder's value goes through the roof because you need him that much more. But I wrote about this earlier this season. It's not just that he can't play next to those guys. His shooting splits tank.
And so do the people around him. I think I saw that. It's Smart is a guy obviously, one of them needs to be the facilitator. And if Smart's just sitting there waiting to shoot, he's not going to play as well.
And at the very, very, very least.
But you can't say Schroeder's. You're actually going to say Schroeder's hurting this team.
Only because
I'm neutral.
At the very least, it will force Udoka to play Pritchard, who I think would help them because he can.
Yeah, it would force him to play Pritchard. But I think Pritchard is kind of who he is. I think that would help the team more than Schroeder.
With the Jays both healthy, I think that would help them more.
The argument is that Pritchard is a better fit because he can shoot more consistently.
And I think it's as simple as that. And that, obviously, Schroeder can go out and play amazing last night because he can space the floor and help when the Jays are off. But when he's not on, which is he's on sometimes.
I'll say this about Schroeder. He makes some questionable decisions out there. Sometimes he takes shots he shouldn't take.
In your defense, you could say that about everybody. Every single one of them.
Sure, exactly. So he's not really helping in that sense, but I think when he's out there, you have a player that I don't think it's anyone on the team faster than he is. I don't even think it's close. Yeah. You have a guy that.
But then he walks the top of the court.
Right off of makes. Yeah, he's not the fast guy. He likes to walk the ball. When you get him over the line, he can explode to the rim. There are times where I do think that they need him out there because he does. He's not going to win a 3-point contest, but he can still score. And guess what? Defenses have to play on him. They have to defend him. They don't have to do that to Marcus Smart. People want Marcus Smart to shoot. People are giving him as much space as he needs to take. They're baiting him. They can't do that to Schroeder. Schroeder is much more of a threat on offense than Marcus Smart is. And that's why he's playing when he is. Listen, it's not a perfect marriage, but this was a signing that when it happened, everyone was head over heels about it because it took the Celtics in their minds from a non-playoff team to a fringe playoff team. I think everyone was kind of spot on. They're barely, if anything, we didn't realize how bad the Celtics were. I kind of think I did, but I think a lot of people didn't. They're actually worse.
No start.
They're actually worse.
I stand by that they should have played better to start the season.
They should.
Yeah, the reason they're going to trade Schroder is not because of Schroder. It's because of the Celtics. If Schroder gets traded this year, it's because of where they are in the standings. It's not because of what Dennis Schroder has done on the court where they need to get rid of him. If the Celtics had won a few more games and they were in a much better playoff position, you keep Dennis Schroder because what's he going to get you? What's he going to get you? A second round pick?
I said Jeff Green, as the rumors say. And hey, I love Jeff Green. Fun fact. I know you do. Most people do. I love Jeff Green.
Him.
I do.
Purely because
I told you that last year.
Yeah, I think you did. I grew up watching a lot of baseball, and I started actually watching the Celtics, unfortunately, when it was the Jeff Green Celtics, and so I just he holds a special place in my heart. But I understand.
And I can't believe you like him if that's what you're going off of. He was one of the most disappointing players. Do you remember how it ended for Jeff Green? Basically, it basically ended. He basically got benched for Jay Crowder, and Jay Crowder never gave it up again. We joke about Jay Crowder. That's what this team's missing. Jay Crowders. Yeah. They're missing Jay Crowders. They're not missing Jeff Greens. Jeff Green is basically like an older Tatum. It's you could never get anything out of the guy. He never got any emotion. Once in a while, he'd explode for a dunk, and then everyone would be happy, and then he would disappear again for another 10 games. That was Jeff Green's career in a nutshell.
I've said this, and Sam can back me up. The biggest loss in the Isaiah Thomas trade was Jay Crowder. In the long run, that was the biggest loss in that trade.
Yeah,
that was the biggest hell of the trade.
Well, because of what we know now about Isaiah Thomas.
Exactly. Yeah,
but Isaiah Thomas is a prime example of a player who
might have been Sexton, to be honest.
He loved it. Sexton.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, hey,
those teams were so fun to watch, and they liked playing for the Garden. They liked playing for each other. They played hard, and Danny Ainge said, "See ya," and that really put a dent into things. I really think that people want to hate on players for leaving a team in free agency and say oh, where's the loyalty? Where's the loyalty? There's some truth to that, but GMs are just as guilty, man, if not more, because they'll do the same shit when something, sorry for swearing, but they'll do the same thing. No,
swear all you want. Go ahead.
They'll do the same exact thing if it benefits them. And that's exactly what happened to Isaiah Thomas. He left it all out there for the Celtics, played hurt. And what does Danny Ainge do? He sees a hotter girl, and he dumps his girlfriend for, the fling. And what does she do? She dumps him. So he kind of got what he deserved, to be completely honest. That rubbed players too the wrong way.
And fair enough.
And why would why would you want to? I mean, I know Danny Ainge is gone, but why would you want to even play in that type of a environment where you can just be
Anthony
the heart
Davis
of the team one day and then chump change the next? That just sets a bad taste in your mouth. And ever since then, something's been off. The Kyrie years are self-explanatory. Everything's been off since Kyrie came here. It's just weird.
Now, on the radio today, Brad Stevens on Toucher and Ridge talked a little bit about Isaiah Thomas.
I didn't hear it. What did he say?
He said he loves Isaiah Thomas. I'll pull it up, but he kind of danced around it. But he said
you go ahead. He basically said, I love Isaiah Thomas, but our roster is enough of a mess right now, or we have enough of issues with the roster right now that we can't afford it. And he also made note of the fact that when they were looking for 10-day guys, he already had a 10-day contract. So that was.
I mean, I don't know what the Celtics are doing with their 10-day contracts. I mean, I really don't. I mean,
Joe Johnson though. I mean,
it was such a great story for 10 minutes.
Moment.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are we doing? You can't find a player. You just can't find talent anywhere where you're going to these guys who haven't played basketball in literally multiple seasons and are
I've got it.
They probably didn't even think they would ever play again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you got, Sam?
Okay. He said, "I'm a huge Isaiah fan, always have been. Obviously the 10-day stuff. He had a couple of those 10 days. We actually had a few in between his that we ended up signing. I think we signed all 5 while he was with the Lakers. I'm a huge fan of his, obviously following them from afar. Our roster situation right now is complicated enough that we've got to get through the next month, see where it lands, what it looks like. We'll make other decisions, whether we have spots or ads, whatever the case may be. Isaiah is everything everyone has made him out to be. He's great. do the Celtics need someone who bled green and played with heart like Isaiah? Kind of like what we talked about. And he said, I think every team benefits from that. Obviously, again, there's a lot of factors with regard to the roster and specifically each team and each team situation, contractually and flexibility-wise, et cetera. That goes into all of these decisions. But every team benefits from that kind of energy, that kind of leadership, and people that can play multiple roles and those kind of things. So
totally. I feel like we just kind of hit that on the head, right? What we've been talking about.
Now, so, Jack and I are split on that one. I think there's nothing. I mean, there's no reason not to, especially if it's a 10-day.
Are you talking about Isaiah?
Yeah, and I understand what Jack says too. While it would be like more of a distraction.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think there's just no reason not to do it. It's not like you're. I don't know if you can really do anything to screw anything up worse.
Brad would be setting Ime up for failure. Sorry. I mean, because he's not going to play. Isaiah Thomas is not going to play in Ime's rotation.
And I say any intelligent person knows that.
But the Boston fans aren't that.
I don't think they sign him if he doesn't play. So that's probably maybe one of the reasons why they haven't is because they know that he's not going to play. And when you look at the 10 days that they've used, these guys haven't played. I mean, yeah, you played Joe Johnson in like a blowout game and you never saw that court race again. But like, you're right. It would definitely be a distraction in a sense because you're hearing about the Isaiah stuff now. Imagine if he's sitting on the bench. You're at the TD Garden and everyone starts chanting, you know, IT or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like it does become a bit of a circus. Now, so I agree completely with Jack on that. I agree with Sam too in the sense where I just went on here and said, do anything, try anything, because whatever's happening now isn't working. So what's the worst that can happen? It just still doesn't work.
At least he would care, even from the bench.
Right, exactly. So, you know, Jack, you might get your wish, and Sam, you might get your wish. The Celtics might trade Schroder, and then maybe they'll just sign a guy like Isaiah. I don't know. But that's also why I don't think a guy like Schroeder is going to get much value because these guys are out there. These 10 days are floating around, right? I mean, every day you hear about another couple of 10 days, and it's like, really, who's going to trade you a first-round pick for a Schroeder? Nobody, absolutely nobody. So you're just trading Schroeder what? So that Wick can save a couple bucks under the tax? I don't care at all. In fact, I want Wick to spend more. Wick should be emptying out his pockets on the side of freaking Causeway Street right now, and paying fans for what they've had to put up with this season.
Well, that's why you buy insurance.
Oh, that's why you bet on the game. Exactly.
Wrapping back.
No, but honestly though, if you're trading Schroeder and it's going to make your team better in some way, shape, or form, I get it because he's 99% not going to be back next season. You know, they're not going to re-sign him. Again, if you're trying to build around the Jays, you're right. He's not the fit. They need a more, and another thing we talked about, maybe we need to trade for somebody who does want to be a leader. So maybe you need to find a point guard like the Suns did with Chris Paul that will take on not only the on-court, fit, but will take on some sort of leadership role. And a name that was floated out on Twitter was Mike Conley. Ooh. I don't know what it would take to get him, but he kind of fits that mold. And I know he's a little bit older. He's on the wrong side of 30.
Well, he shot 7 for 7 like last month against Celtics. So
he made the All-Star game last year, like first time in his entire career. This guy can still play. He
plays defense.
He fits what they need. I think and I don't know much about whether or not he's a leader or not, but I can't imagine he's not one. And I don't know what it would cost. Would you do it for Smart? Does Danny Ainge want Smart? You get Danny Ainge over there in Utah now.
My issue with Conley is just that amount of money for that.
It's a lot of money, but that's why he might be like. That's the thing is like. They're going to be available for some reason, right? Whether it's contract and Ben Simmons, right? I mean, he's available because of a million reasons, but the reason why
he's not a leader,
not a leader, exactly, not a leader at all. And that's my one hang up with them, like taking a risk on Ben Simmons is that I just think he's going to add to like the poor culture here. Yep. I think on court, he's exactly what they need. Obviously not a shooter, but agree. Like doesn't need to be. When you're so good at all those other things, you don't need to be 40% 3-point shooter. So that's kind of getting off track. But my point is just bringing in guys. We're talking about guys who care, like guys like Isaiah Thomas, things like that. Players who, might fit what they're looking for. And it's clear that like if Brad's getting asked that on the radio, it's clear that a lot of people feel that way.
Oh yeah, it's all over Twitter. Every time he tweets, if you go to his replies, come back to Boston. Come back to Boston.
Oh, no, I mean, people feel that they're lacking.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're lacking like that pride and that like what stuff
they
that
absolutely are. And they for sure are. Marcus is really the only guy that, I mean, we talked about it, exhibits that.
Yeah.
And that's why people love him so much. And it's really disappointing that he wasn't named captain this year. I think that was the first mistake.
I know. And it kind of gives you a peek into what's going on with this team, because I think we all probably agree that Smart has the resume to be the captain of this team. You don't need to be the best player on the team to be
Absolutely
the captain.
You don't. No, you do
When
not.
Ime came out and said we're going to have 2 captains, you knew at that point that it was going to be, or you assumed that it was going to be Tatum and Brown, because it feels like these 2 guys are like, 1A and 1B, right? And nobody wants to be Robin, so they both have to be Batman, but you can't have 2 Batmans. It doesn't work that way. So it's like, are we just going to like try to, cater to these 2 guys, and everyone else is kind of staring like, what the hell's going on? Like, I can see why Marcus Smart would be a little pissed about that. So, but then you give Marcus Smart the captaincy, and like, does that go to his head? Does he start, thinking that he could? Does he like start bossing the Jays around, and they don't take kindly to it because maybe they don't respect his on-court ability, or they don't respect his voice in the locker room? I don't know. But there's been issues with this team every single season, starting in the bubble. We heard about the dust up they had in the bubble with the
little disagreement.
Yeah, it was Smart and something. Maybe
at least it showed they cared.
At least they cared. Somebody cared.
Right. So at that point, it told me that there's just something wrong with the makeup of this locker room. Like they couldn't even get a captain. Like that was just such a bad start to the season. And some people will joke about it and say, "Oh, it doesn't mean anything," but it
does mean something.
More like it's.
I was so excited for that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, Pierce wore it with pride. Rondo wore it with pride. And now it's like nobody wants that. Again, it goes back to the responsibility thing. Nobody wants that responsibility, apparently. So.
I feel like Marcus would, though, which is why, like, what's
he's the perfect fit.
I shouldn't say nobody. You're right. I think he probably would, but I don't know why.
Ego. It probably it has to, right? Like.
Well, Marcus, don't forget, Marcus said it doesn't even matter who's captain. Like, we're all gonna like. Blah, blah,
no,
blah.
But I'm saying the Jays' ego, right? Because if Marcus is captain, then.
But Marcus Smart did say that thing, so it kind of made me think that he was already downplaying what it meant to be the captain, maybe because he thought that he wasn't going to get it or something. You know what I mean? It's high school BS, man. It's like it really is. Like it's like, what are we even talking about? This I feel foolish even talking about it, but like it's just a number of these little things that all add up to a big thing. And when you look at the standings, it all makes much more sense, right? It's not just a talent thing. Talent is certainly part of it. Talent around these guys.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I had in my notes. This just kind of turned into. We said at the start of the show, this could either skew really negative or really positive, and apparently.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
Break down?
We're gonna do breakdown.
This was awesome.
Pacers Celtics highlights. We're not gonna do
Hell
that.
no. God. This is we do a pregame show for the Celtics, and every time I hop on now, it just turns into like trade talk and other stuff because like I don't want to talk about like the Pacers. I'm sorry, I don't want to talk.
You
guys want to talk about the Pacers? I'll never let it go. The day they were playing the Lakers, I was like pouting because they're playing the Lakers and they're talking about Sabonis. I was furious.
Well, the Lakers stink too. So like that.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. That's a huge deal. It's a big game.
Would you take Russell Westbrook?
What'd you say?
No. Fuck no. Please no. Please.
Wait, did you say trade for Westbrook? Absolutely.
I said, would you take him? Yeah. Would you trade him? Yeah.
If he's free, maybe, but he's not.
Like if he got bought out, maybe.
Not if he's free. Like it wouldn't require obviously it wouldn't require either of the Jays, but he wouldn't be free.
No, he's bad.
If you could manage it without either Jays, I actually wouldn't be too.
He'd probably be like Schroder, but way worse. And then you'd really hate him.
Yeah, actually, that's valid. That's correct.
I think he would be very like he is now. He's very polarizing for sure. Is there anybody that you guys, not to put you on the spot, but if the answer is no, then the answer is no. But is there anybody that you guys like are targeting for them, or that you guys think that?
I have a whole list of just.
I thought they should have went and got Rondo before the season. They didn't do it.
I said the same thing recently.
I don't know if I'm a fan of that.
I just thought they should have did it. He's won titles with them with the Lakers.
Yeah.
He's a veteran. He could facilitate. He wouldn't, like he would be a willing passer. I don't know. I just think and he would have been a good person to teach those guys a little bit of pride.
That's absolutely. I'm 100% with you, Jack. There's nobody in this organization anymore. Maybe Cedric Maxwell, and I don't even know how much the media is even allowed to be around these guys right now. There's nobody within the organization that can really relay like what it means or what it meant to be on the Celtics. Right.
But do you think Rondo gives a fuck
last
anymore?
Living freaking player in the NBA that was even in the league in 2007 when they won the title. It's like him and LeBron. There's not that many guys left. Like,
do you think he cares anymore though? Like, do you think Rondo
would care if he was here?
I don't think he would though. I don't think he would.
I think a good counter is that he went and joined the Lakers twice.
I mean, in a Rondo way, it's not like Rondo's like bleeds green, but like he could probably relate to these guys. He could probably just like be real with them and tell them what it's all about, and he's been on some great teams. He's been on some shitty teams. He's been in good situations and bad. If you're looking for a player that can kind of scare you straight, it's probably Rondo.
Yeah, that's valid.
They didn't do that for whatever reason. So here we are, talking about the same thing. Sorry.
I will say, I would have loved it if they did it instead of Cantor, because that was Freedom, because that was that. God.
Yeah, that seems like another weird like what's the point?
I don't like the argument that you could have had Desmond Bane because you never know who they would have drafted or whatever.
No, I hate that. I hate all of those because I think it doesn't matter who they pick, they're put into the same minutes. They're not going to get any more opportunity than these other guys did. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
Right.
100%.
Jack, got anybody?
Yeah, I got a list.
Okay,
just a small. None of them are like going to blow you out the water.
Sam, let's pick apart his list.
Okay.
Please do. I'll take Jeff Green off it just because I wanted to talk about it and bring it up.
Take
That's
Jeff
not
Green
like an actual thing. All right. My dream.
Back on.
My dream, which isn't even on my list because I don't think it's realistic, is Harrison Barnes. I would love Harrison Barnes on this team. I think he'd be great.
I think
Bryn Forbes
last season too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Bryn Forbes, I think, could potentially be gettable if the Spurs are willing to trade him for a couple seconds because he's making around 4.5 mil. Fits right into the TPE, shooting like 42% from three. I wouldn't hate that.
Britt Mills?
Bryn Forbes.
Bryn Forbes, sorry. Okay.
Yes, yeah, you're good.
Speaking of Mills, isn't it funny? Like Patty Mills was a big Celtic rumor, and now he's like playing well.
Yeah, he would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like he was their first choice probably for the Schroder spot, and it didn't work.
Such a weird. I thought he was coming because obviously he played for Ime. There was a big role for him here, and
he'd have been great.
I thought it was going to happen. And all of a sudden, not only doesn't he come here, he goes to the freaking Nets.
He's averaging like 14 in Brooklyn.
He's been so huge for them because they lost Kyrie. They haven't had Kyrie all season, and he slid right in.
Patty Mills is everything you want Peyton Pritchard to be, in my opinion.
Totally.
Right? Totally. Okay. Continuing my list. Jeremy Lamb fits into a TPE.
Dude, I'll be honest. I just saw Jeremy Lamb come into the. I had no idea that guy was even still like doing his thing.
Yep. I got him on here.
So,
I got
he's
Tyus.
Gettable. Yeah, he's probably gettable.
You never know.
Tyus, the king.
No. Tyus Jones.
Oh.
Yeah. Not Tyus. I mean, you could. No. Tyus Jones in Memphis because he's on an expiring deal. Memphis is good. Obviously, he's getting like 20-something minutes a game, but you never know.
Memphis has been. There was a. I think it was Zach Lowe had like a Jaylen Brown trade to Memphis for a couple players.
Jaren Jackson maybe and something else.
I don't know if Jaren Jackson was in it. It was probably not going to happen, but
yeah.
Toss it.
Justin Holiday and Torrey Craig both also on Indy.
I thought Craig was an interesting one. I mean, Holiday is supposed to be able to shoot. Like, I get the shooting fix would be there.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one was I don't know how available he is, but this team is a little bit in dire straits. Kevin Huerter in Atlanta. I don't know what they're doing there, but
he's white, so I was racist.
He fits right in.
God,
dude. Yeah. I think. I mean,
like his jersey would be number 1 in the.
Jesus,
dude, that'd be the next jersey behind Sam, dude. It'd be up. It'd be up in a month.
Bird. I need to get a McHale, and we could have Huerter in the middle. Hauser.
No, yeah, I think Huerter could actually help, but I don't know what the asking price would be because, like, obviously they just cleared up the wing rotation with Reddish, so you don't know if they're looking.
Yeah, like what are the Hawks trying to do, right? I mean, what about Collins?
I'd be down. He doesn't want to be there
now.
anymore. He doesn't want to be there anymore. So
he doesn't.
I think that's a very interesting because
he didn't want to be there. Then they won, and now he doesn't want to be there again.
He's complaining about his role on the team right now.
It didn't feel like they were going to resign. They were going to resign him, and then they did because they had just outplayed expectations. And now it's kind of like almost feels like similar to the Marcus Smart situation, right? They could resign him because they didn't want to lose him, but it's like, is the fit there? Is he available? Are they willing to trade him for?
Would you trade like Marcus Smart and something else in a John Collins deal?
Yes.
Sam?
I mean, I probably would, but I think it leaves you with
Collins
holes.
Is good,
and I think Collins is a good player though. So
that's
a deal where I feel
it's not gonna fix your team in one trade, but it's a big like start. Like if you can get that,
and Collins can shoot, so that's another big that can kind of shoot. I think that is a trade where you're not getting less back than you should. So yeah, I mean I would do it.
And hey, Atlanta needs defense like a fish needs water to breathe. They're horrendous.
Trae Young and Marcus Smart would be a pretty solid backcourt for them.
Filthy.
I mean, that would be like you got to pick up the phone if you're either team if that becomes an option.
And the last thing I've seen is you throw the farm at Fox or Halliburton in Sacramento because they're available. You throw the farm in them. I mean, one thing I
would prefer Halliburton, and I think that's
what do you mean the farm? There is no farm, dude.
I'm saying the one thing you could do is say, hey, give me Halliburton, give me Harrison Barnes, give me something else. Here's Jaylen Brown, or give me Fox and
no.
Give me Barnes, give me Fox. Here's Jaylen Brown. I'm just saying, you add one of those young point guards.
Halliburton was a big name last season. His worth has only gone up since.
He's good.
He's really
he looks like Tatum.
I mean, if you're going to trade Brown, you would need a Godfather type offer like that. Some people don't like Bobby Manning's not huge on Fox because he doesn't like his shooting. He's just another guy that can't shoot. But I like Fox. I think Fox is like kind of electric out there.
He's a better Schroeder. I mean, that's what he is. He's a much better Schroeder.
Yeah, much better. Yeah. I like that. That's another team. You almost feel bad sending Jaylen Brown to the freaking Kings.
Sacramento. That's worse than Indiana.
That's a team where Jason Tatum would probably thrive, right? He can drop 35 a night and walk out of the building and not be bothered by anybody.
Yeah, but I mean, past that, wrapping back around to finish it off here, Sabonis I think would be nice, but I don't know if I'd give up Rob for him is the thing, and maybe that's a hot take, but
that's the problem. They're gonna have to if they go after him, they would have to.
They would have
pay.
And I don't know what does Indy want Rob? Not that Rob's not a good, but it's like they've got Turner, and they probably want to get rid of. They probably want to get rid of Turner. They probably want to keep Sabonis.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, he kind of fits the Indy mold over there for sure.
He does.
Talk about white guys in the NBA, but like
Indiana, there's another one.
But like Turner, I'm sure they'd love to get rid of if they can.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, like I said, he'd be great. He'd be great in the Celtics. Brogdon would be great, but yeah, I like what could be available in Sacramento. Again, though, if you'll know a lot more about this team once the season's over. Like, how do they finish this season?
I'm genuinely excited for that. Like, to
I want to know
even the next month.
I want to know one way or the other. Just hit me with it. Like, I don't want this limbo. I want to know one way or the other. Like, are these guys legit? Are they gonna? Are they gonna be able to be built around and win games, or are we just prolonging the inevitable? We need to just get rid of one and retool, as you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, my entire job for Hoops Happen right now, so it was the trade deadline, is I'm writing trade articles. It's gotten to the point. I'm writing a Zion Williamson trade article right now, so that'll tell you the depths I'm going to.
I'd like to hear it. Do you already have it?
I've got my trades listed out if you'd like to hear them.
You're going to trade for Zion?
I don't know.
Are they going to send an electric scooter with them?
Not Celtics trades. Hoops Happen is general NBA.
And listen, I was like the biggest Zion guy before this year. I don't know anybody can trade for him right now. The guy's like eating his way out of the league. I mean,
that's why I'm saying
he looks like the hamburger.
I'll get the two deals I have, and I mean, you still got to value him still high, right? He's Zion Williamson. He's 21. If he gets healthy, he's one of the best bigs in the league, right? He's Zion.
How many guys come back from being fat?
A lot of ifs.
Yeah.
Jared
we
Zollinger
talk about like Achilles
injuries. It's a good question.
But seriously, like how many guys have like recovered from being fat?
Jokic.
Once you go fat, you never go back, especially right now in quarantine. I know a lot of guys who just said, "See you later."
Jokic is a big one. Jokic was a big boy.
When he was in the league,
Jokic cut.
He has slimmed.
But that was also like a big culture change for him. You know what I mean? Like he went from not even knowing what nutrition was really to
that dude was just crushing liters of Cokes every day.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. To like come into the NBA and he's get this, state of the art, world class, facilities, and he's getting on these health plans. That's the one thing I'll say about fat people is that they can drop weight right off the bat like crazy.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, so yeah, I mean, Zion needs to commit. That's
I'll read you my trades regardless if you're interested real quick.
I want to hear him. Let's go.
First one is a Hawks trade, right? And I said they could give up
So time
Collins
out before you start.
Yeah.
Is this assuming that is this like Zion today, like with all the health issues?
Yeah, this is if the Pelicans were to trade him right now. So these will probably, for most cases, like say, oh, that's way overvaluing him. But at the same time, the Pelicans are not going to undersell on Zion. So if you want to take that risk to elevate your franchise, like the two trade teams are the Hawks and the Kings, two teams that like with the place they're like, I know the Hawks just won an Eastern Conference Finals run, but they're a mess right now. They're
not. You trade him for Ben Simmons?
I didn't
include Philly?
That one. Hell no. I don't want Zion if I'm Philly. I mean, you just dealt with Embiid for years and he's finally healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
dude, if you're Philly, I feel like you gotta take whatever you can get almost.
Yeah,
but they're not. They don't feel that way clearly because they're still playing on to them.
I respect that, by the way.
All right, let's hear it.
Hawks deal is Collins, Hunter, Herter, Okongwu, Jalen Johnson, and picks for Zion, and then like Jackson Hayes and like salary filler. Then you pair then put Trae Young next to Zion when he gets healthy. Bogdanovich there, Clint Capella still there. Gallinari if he can contribute anything, and then they'd have to obviously it'd free up a bunch of money honestly because Zion's still on his rookie contract, so you could fill in the rest of the offseason. That's the first one.
Okay.
Second one is King. Oh, go ahead.
What is in it for the Pelicans?
The Pelicans, it's in it for, dear God, I mean, we've seen this family already get mad at us. We just dealt with Anthony Davis's bullshit for years. We let Lonzo Ball. They're a mess. They need
they
some
just don't trust
sort of
that
stability.
Zion's going to stick around.
Yeah, they just need some sort of stability. And I mean, at that point,
man, that's sad.
Your starting lineup looks like Devontae Graham, Kevin Herter, or Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, John Collins, Jonas Valanciunas with DeAndre Hunter off the bench. That's not a bad team.
Josh Hart is a guy I want the Celtics to try and get.
I agree. Josh Hart would be great.
Last year I thought so too.
Josh Hart would be great.
Okay, that's trade number one.
Yeah. Second one, Zion Williamson, Jackson Hayes, Thomas Satoransky, salary work for Tyrese Halliburton, Harrison Barnes, Davion Mitchell, Marvin Bagley, and picks. You pair him with Zion Williamson, or you pair him with De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Rashawn Holmes out there, Sacramento. You pray that works. Because again, 15 years without the playoffs, you got to try to make a splash at some point because that's just awful. So that's the other one.
That honestly feels like the perfect place for Zion, too.
Yeah, Sacramento. You got no eyes on you out there, homie.
I was so high on Zion. Like, I was like ready to watch this guy play for like 15 years and just dominate. And now it's just like, what the hell happened? Is the food that good down there? Is in New Orleans? Like,
I mean, maybe.
I remember when you showed me, Jack, like when he first got fat, and I was like, I thought when he was fat, I thought it was the old picture. I was like, damn, like he cut back weight.
No,
I was like,
dude,
that's impressive.
He's already got lower body issues. Like you're not.
Yeah.
Tim
McMahon
McMahon
to add more weight to that.
Tim McMahon reported like a month ago saying his sources said, yeah, Zion's around 330 right now. What? Oh my God!
Like, dude,
horrendous.
But like, what about the organization? Like, why aren't they like? There should be a guy just following. There should be a guy like following him around, like making sure.
Yeah.
He's like sticking to a strict diet and like workout regimen and like rehab and like it's like, dude, you have like feet. You have like a foot injury, like you have like a knee injury, like, and you're putting weight on. You're carrying more stress to that, like. It doesn't make any sense at all. And like this guy could have really, really been like the next Shaq.
Maybe he still could be. I mean, theoretically, he's only like 21, but still.
Yeah, I know he could be, but he's gotta like friggin'.
He just needs someone following him around, like calling him fat.
Yeah. He's like carrying like another human being like on his back. That's how much this guy weighs.
He's 6'6". He's not even like a 7-footer.
Right.
Oh,
right. Like can he even dunk right now? Somebody should just say, hey, go dunk this ball. See if you can.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, the two trade packages were just like, we need a change. Like, if Zion gets healthy, our team is set for 10 years. Let's hope.
Did you do Jalen for Zion?
No.
Wow.
I genuinely don't think Zion's gonna recover. Like I don't know if he's gonna play basketball.
Yeah, if you don't think he's gonna recover, then yeah, you wouldn't even for a second.
I think he's done.
That's
there are besides Jokic, I really can't think of any fat NBA players that have like recovered.
How crazy!
Jokic started fat and he just lost the weight.
How crazy would it be?
Like Sullinger never like really got like any better.
How sad is it that we're comparing Zion to Sullinger? How like that should tell
Baby. Eddie Curry was fat.
Vin Baker.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like seriously, like I'm not like it's funny, but like I'm not joking. Like these guys don't recover from getting fat.
Yeah, I mean it's weird that it happened at such a young age. So maybe there's some hope and like I've always thought that he had a pretty good head on his shoulders. He seems like a pretty like smart guy, and I mean I don't know that, but he seems like it, and he seems like very like articulated, and I can't imagine he would just let himself go like this. It's like there's got to be somebody. Crazy. He has to have somebody in his corner that's being like a positive influence on him, where he can
like he goes and has a workout, and the guy's like, "All right, like here's a donut, like you earned it."
Hey, here's a big steaming pot of gumbo.
Eating, like munchkins every time he comes up, he gets another munchkin.
Dude just goes to like get a big pot of gumbo every day down like by his apartment.
Right, dude. I mean, like
he's not in New Orleans anymore. He left New Orleans to like rehab somewhere else. I totally forgot. It's crazy.
He probably had to. He's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live this lifestyle.
I don't get it, man. But yeah, that's all we had. I mean, we held you hostage here for an hour and 30, so we won't hold you hostage anymore. We appreciate it.
It's fun. I didn't even realize the time kind of flew.
I apologize for the shitter net. You know, it's an apology I had to give out every once in a while.
Dude, I was saying this to Jack when you left. I was like, if you ever watch our show on CLNS, like we have guys crapping out nonstop. Joe Sway, shout out. He's probably the poster child for it. But even like I've had it, it's happened to Bobby a bunch of times at the Garden. Like it happens. It's it is what it is, and we just keep it rolling, man. It's if people don't like it, there's a little X in the corner that they can click, and they never have to watch it again. You know what? They still keep coming back.
Please listen to our show.
Yeah, please.
But Don't do that. But.
Yeah. Do you want to let people know where to find you? And I say this every time, simply so I don't fuck it up myself. So.
Yeah.
Please do.
Well, my Twitter is Jimmy_Toscano. That is my name. And as far as like where you can find me doing some Celtics stuff, we do a live post-game show after every Celtics game, home, away, win, loss. We go live a few minutes after the game, and we just kind of talk about what happened during the game, talk about what happened during the day. If there's any Celtics news, NBA news, we could just like guys being dudes, kind of like what we did today on this show. It's all live, so we have to really be careful with what we say and what we do. But it's fun, and the cool part is it's on YouTube live, and it's so if you've ever been on YouTube on a live thing, you can kind of join in. There's a chat. Yep. We like put comments up and get viewers involved, and it's been fun. And we've been doing it for we started in the bubble. That was the first show we ever did, and I don't think we've missed a game since. And personally we've missed games, but the show's gone on every single game, and it's been fun. So it's where you guys can find me. And Sherrod Blakely's on that show regularly, Bobby Manning, Josue Pavone, and John Zanis, who I used to work with along with Sherrod at NBC Boston, formerly CSN New England. So we have fun.
Yeah, there you go. Make sure to check Jimmy out on Twitter at Jimmy_Toscano. CLNS Media, all their post-game shows on YouTube. You can probably find it on Twitter too if you want to find the links there, CLNS Media. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Jimmy, again for joining us today.
No, thanks for having me, guys. It's been fun. We'll do it again maybe later this season if the Celtics are in a different spot, a better spot, a worse spot. We'll come back on and we'll rehash it all.
If they trade Schroder, you're gonna be the first person I text.
Dude, you'll be calling me on I know it's gonna happen. I just want everyone to know that it's not because of him. Yeah, it's because of them.
Fair enough.
I need you to say that, Jack. I need you to say that.
No. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Check us out on Twitter at Bannertown USA. You guys can follow me at Jack Simone NBA, and Sam, go ahead and wrap us up per usual.
Yeah, make sure to follow Jimmy. We appreciate him coming on at Jimmy_Toscano on Twitter. You won't.
You don't have to. My Twitter account sucks. Just don't even worry about it. If you're bored, you want to scroll through it, you can. But it's like whatever.
Yeah, but we appreciate him coming on very much. Check out the post games on CLNS on YouTube. He'll always be there.
We tweet those out too. So that is the one thing. It's already cut you off again, but we tweet out the link to our post-game show. So if you go to YouTube, CLNS Media is our account. But if you just want to watch the shows, you can go to my Twitter account, and usually the link's there for YouTube, or you could just poke around and find it. So
yeah, all those guys are friends of the show, except for Sherrod. We have yet to speak with him. Maybe we'll do that sometime.
Or John. I don't think we've had John on either. I think we had Bobby, Jimmy, and Josue. So we're working through. We're working through the CLNS group.
Okay, maybe I'll put a little bug in there for you guys.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yes, thanks again for coming on, Jimmy. You can follow the guys. Follow Jack at Jack Simone NBA. Follow Bannertown at Bannertown USA. You can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's our show for today. Bye.